Shan and Tam fam, welcome to the Real Talk podcast. On this podcast, we talk about real issues. We talk about parenting, love, family, friendships, and everything in between.
It is our hope that you will journey with us through some critical conversations. We would like for you to drop us a comment, to share the conversation, and to let us know what you would like to see us talk about on Real Talk.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Shan and Tam, the podcast. Last week we heard from Michelle Scarlett about the beginnings of her foster parent journey. We talked about her motivation to help children caught in a broken system, often lacking the support they desperately need. We also began to hear her story about her journey with her adopted son. Now let's listen in to hear part 2 of Michelle's story and what she will do for the love of a child.
So I don't know if he ran away because he didn't want to be here. It didn't seem like that at first. It seemed like he just wanted to find his way, or he was keeping friends with people who were in the foster care system, who was homeless, who, just kids that were just unruly or whatever. He started associating himself with these kids.
Right.
And one thing led to the next. And he found himself on drugs.
Wow.
And of course, that intensified every emotion, every trauma, everything that he's ever gone through. And plus, remember, now he's a teenager.
Right.
So he's dealing with identity issues. He's dealing with the rejection from his mother, because she's still rejecting him, and he still is pushing because he wants her love.
Wants a validation from her. He wants that love from her.
He wants that love. And the reason why I can't, it's so hard for me to give up on him, because I remember wanting that love for almost all of my life. Wow. Right? And I couldn't understand why my mother wouldn't just love me.
Love you.
Good,
yeah.
Right? I'm good. I've done well. Why can't you just embrace me and tell me how much you love me and how much you're proud of me? How come I'm not hearing those things? Right? And so I understood what he was going through. So even though he wanted to be with his mom, he was still coming here, but he wanted to be there. And he's like, well, she's going to get a bigger apartment and we're all going to live together, because this is not my family, and Iverson don't love me, and Iverson don't support me, and da-da-da. And he's like, you're always finding something to fuss with me about. So he just started finding things.
Right.
And then this house became miserable. It was every day fuss and fight and carry on, and till he started running away. And then, of course, the police started picking him up because he's out at night.
Okay.
And how old is he now, Michelle?
He's 14.
14.
Yeah.
That is a very tender age. They can't even
make
a decision. Yeah.
And he doesn't even begin to understand what he's doing to himself. Right.
Yeah.
And he's one of those, he's very smart. So he's always going to argue with grown-ups, right? Because he thinks that not everything, like the rules we know, shouldn't be set in stone. You should be able to adjust to other people, and the rules don't make sense, Right. And you don't need to be teaching me the same thing over and over, stuff like that. So he's always battling teachers.
He's pushing back.
Because he has oppositional defiance disorder. And when you have ODD and smart, that's a recipe for disaster, because then you don't listen to anyone, right? Because they don't know what it's about. And so no matter how many times we warned him about the dangers of the street, he would be like, well, I wouldn't do drugs. Why would I do drugs? That makes no sense. Sometimes it's not what you want to do, it's peer pressure. Well, nobody can force me to do drugs. Why on earth would I put something like that in my body?
Yeah, he tries to rationalize his way out of everything.
Yes.
But there you go.
But
That's where you're at right now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. I am broken. I can barely comb my hair. I can barely function at work. I can barely do my billing, my business. I cannot even have conversations. My son is home from work right now. I cry every 2 seconds because I am at a point where I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I've reached out to Child Protective Services. I've reached out to Department of Juvenile Services. I have called out to counselors. I've called out to Montgomery County government, and I feel like I'm just alone. And mark you, I live with all boys. Boys
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, they can't understand what you're going through as
No,
a mother.
no. They
Yeah.
are like, take yourself away, because you know that's what boys do.
Yeah.
They just take themselves away. They're like, I don't want to deal with it. So on top of the fact that I'm not getting any,
The
you know,
emotional support.
yeah, I'm not getting emotional support from the people in my house. So half the time I'm either stuck in my bed or in this office here, or just in the sofa, just there trying to figure out, doing research, trying to figure out what to do next, how to go about this. Is it the right thing to do? Do I leave him alone? Because until now he's still wanting to go to his mother. And I called his mother and father, who just came out of prison last week, and I said, can you guys just take him, please? He wants to be with you. I will support him financially. You don't have to worry about food. You don't have to worry about clothes. I'll make sure he goes to school. I'll even send a bus to your house, but please, he wants you.
Right.
And they were like, nope.
No, they're not up for that
Wow.
job. And so what now, Michelle? Like, I can hear, we see
Yeah.
the pain, the
How this is
struggle.
impacting you.
Yeah, we see it. You know, and what now? What is next for you? Are you at least able to get some support in terms of counseling, or, has he been cooperative at all or willing to go to any type of rehabilitation, or
Yeah, what does that process looks
what
like
does
now?
that look like now for you and your family? Because as much as the other boys are there, you're not the only one being impacted by this.
Yeah, they're being impacted too.
I,
Because you mentioned that the house got miserable
Right.
mhm,
at one point, right? Just the arguments. I'm sure it
mhm.
impacted your two boys, right?
Of course, of course, of course. And so, of course, Iverson is saying no, he can't deal with it. My dad, so everybody's angry at this
Right.
point, angry. And they know how much I went above and beyond for him and went to bat for him, and to know that he came out of his mouth and told me, "F you, you're not my mother." That hurt, and that hurt everybody else. But I know that it's not just him talking. I know it's the drugs, because I remember my butterfly kisses at night. I remember him waking up and making me breakfast. I remember him coming to check on me every 2 seconds. Are you okay? Do you need anything? If you need me, call. So I try to remember him,
Right.
that, right? And I know he's going through something. And my biggest battle is the fact that his mom is 12 minutes away. I feel like if she wasn't there, he was going to go through his struggles anyway, but I don't feel like it would be like this, because I think he thought for sure that if he ran away and went to her house, then that would be it.
Right.
And everything would be
It
over, and
would
he would
be
be fine because he's with his
open
family.
arms, and
Yeah.
everything would be okay.
Yeah. So at one point I did drop him off there when that night when he told me F you, and he came in my house, he called the police, talking about I have legal right to be here. I had to kick him out. And so I said, no, you're not staying here tonight. No, you can't stay here. So I literally called the police and told them, take him out and take him to his mom, because that's where he wants to be. Of course, mom wasn't happy. And they picked him up and they dropped him off at the mom's house, right? And the next day I packed his clothes and I dropped it off. But that hurt him even more.
Yeah.
Because after that is when he said, well, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
You don't want me. My mom don't want me. I'm gone. So
And
that's when the police stuff intensified.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm wondering because, for us, it's difficult for us to sort through our emotions, like just on a regular day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so with all of this intensity, do you have like family counseling? You did mention at the beginning that you had a
Family
counseling
counselor.
session.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I do reach out to and there are different people who have been in these situations that are so good at reaching out to me, talking to me, asking me how I'm feeling, allow me to cry on the phone. I call the crisis center sometimes when I can't sleep at night. I just pick up
Mm.
the phone and call one of those hotlines so I can cry, so they can
Yeah.
talk me through and so they can, affirm that Michelle, you've done everything you possibly could for this child.
Right.
Yes.
And so I keep reaching out to the those people who have been in the situation before, not necessarily adoption, but children who've, gone to drugs or just gone astray,
Right.
So that has helped me tremendously. The school was absolutely supportive. They tried to keep him in school even when he was supposed to be expelled. They kept
Okay.
him there because they know that if they let him go on the street, he probably would have been dead by now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Right.
And so they kept him in school for as long as they could. But just the other day, when he overdosed, he went to school the next day and he created havoc.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to let him go. But everyone in the school was good at texting me, emailing me, call me, checking on me. Where is
Yeah.
he? How are you doing? Are you getting sleep? Don't worry too much, all that stuff. So support, I'm telling you. Let me tell you
Okay.
something.
The
The
school
one
was
thing I
supportive.
learned,
Yeah.
Right.
closed mouth don't get food. Is that how that saying is?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Close mouth
Yeah.
don't get fed. Yeah.
There is absolutely healing from speaking about what you're going through,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There is absolutely people out there who genuinely care, but because of our pride and because we're afraid that people are going to judge us, we
Yes.
don't
Mm-hmm.
open our mouth so we can get the help we want. What if the school wasn't there for me?
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What if the
Mm-hmm.
vice principal and the psychiatrist and from the school and his teacher, what if those people weren't calling me each day to say how are you doing? The security from the school. I mean, everyone kind of rallied around me to make sure I'm okay because they realized he was going AWOL.
Right.
And they know the impact because I am one of those parents that were present in school. I go to school and sit in his classes all day. I follow him around the school. So they know me. And you're like, oh, Miss Scarlett, it's so refreshing to see a parent who is supporting their child because a lot of times when the kid gets in trouble, right? The parents show up and want to fuss with the educators. Like, why
Right.
did you do all the? I am not that. I'm like, say you're sorry. I'm sorry, ma'am. And I go to each teacher and I apologize to them for his behavior because I know that takes away from them teaching to these other kids who really want to learn something.
Right.
Right. So I'm
Right.
that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
parent that will never take my child's side unless I know for sure this time he's right.
Right.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just tell my
Mm-hmm.
children, do the right thing and then I can fight for you. But if you break the rule, I can't fight for you. I can't.
Yes.
It's just
And
what it is. If you disrespect the teachers, you disrespect me,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right?
there's
Um,
something
hmm,
that you said there that when you talk about that analogy, like closed mouth don't
Don't
eat.
get fed.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're talking about this past weekend on our book club when we actually mentioned you and your story,
hmm,
that the power of one's story, especially as there's power in telling your story. There's power
Mm-hmm.
in your experience and you
hmm,
actually sharing that because you never know how that is going to help somebody else,
yes.
right?
And
Mm-hmm.
very important to not speak from a victim, for want of a better word. Like you're not seeking pity, right? But you're seeking help
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
understanding for the situation. Not like, oh my God, Michelle, I can't believe. Not that. Like, how can I help?
How
Yeah.
can I help you?
How
Yeah.
can I help you make these things better? I mean, I got calls from my classmates in Jamaica. I mean, I got support. My inbox was flooded with women calling me for this situation, calling
Wow.
me telling me about their own children and what they went through and how hard it was and how they cried and what's happening now. And that helped, right?
Yeah.
Because
To know that you're not the only one.
showed up, right?
Yeah.
Because what? It's not only me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and you're like, some of the decisions you made, you're like, you question yourself. I was like, you're like, oh my God, why would I do something like that? But you realize there's no right answer. There's
Right.
no wrong
Parenting, no.
answer either. And everyone comes in and tells you different things. Some say give up on him. Some say don't give up on him. Some say be careful.
Mm.
Some say, well, let him fall. And then when he's ready to pick, to get up, you pick him up, right? But you get the advices and you decide and you analyze the situation and wonder what's best for you. Now, for this
Yeah.
situation, I'm not gonna lie. For the first time, I think in my entire life, I don't know what to do.
Wow.
He is at the hospital right now because I dropped him off there and I decided I'm not picking him up.
Mm. And that can't be easy, Michelle,
Kind of.
for
Easy,
you to do that. I'm sure your heart is probably ripping apart.
yeah, I mean, I can't even find the words to tell you what I'm feeling. So recently, when anyone asks me how I'm feeling, I just say tired because I don't have any emotion to put with it. I don't, I can't even
You can't
put my
verbalize what you're feeling.
and that matches what I'm feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
But I
And
am.
you know what, Michelle? You have gone through a lot.
Mhm,
And this child as well, too, has gone through a lot,
mhm,
right? From his own bio family, your relationship with him, even though you are a nurturer and
mhm,
you guys bonded in the interim when he was there were still a lot of things that was going on because he was rejecting your love because of the conflict he felt with his bio mom, right?
mhm,
So you're saying you don't know what to do right now. And Michelle, sometimes from looking at you and all that you have done, sometimes it's okay for you also to renew yourself to get the
mhm,
strength so you can think clearly about the next steps,
Right.
right? And as you said, you have done so much,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
From what you have said just now, I don't think you left any stone unturned, as they
Right.
would say, right? You have
Absolutely.
done a lot for this child.
Absolutely. I think every office in Gaithersburg and Montgomery County knows me and my son's name by now. A matter of
Mm,
fact, I somehow got a meeting from the heads of different departments in the county to have a meeting with me. About 15 people, right? Never happened, right?
mhm.
And one lady from the Department of um, Juvenile Services just came on the phone, judgmental, right?
Oh,
And I
wow.
was there trying to listen to the different options these people have for me. And she just came in and be like, we're not going to place this child just because mom don't want to pick him up. We're not doing that. And I just lost it. The only thing left for me to tell this woman was some Jamaican curse words, right? But I had to remain professional. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
so I was like, when she said that, I felt like something just fell out of my stomach. Like, what?
Absolutely. Yeah, because you know how much you've been doing for this child.
Oh my God. And I said, how dare you come in here judgmental? How dare you tell me that I don't want my child home? What do you know about me and my child? I
Yeah.
said, you are very unprofessional. You're not sympathetic, and you don't deserve to be in a job where you have to make decisions for children,
Mhm, mhm.
right? So even though he stole, even though he's selling drugs, I'm not hiding any of that. I'm telling you guys, this is me telling you what my child is doing. I'm
Mhm,
calling the authorities. I am trying to save the other children around me that he doesn't influence other kids into doing drugs too with him.
mhm,
Because that's
mhm,
exactly what happened to him. The friends he was hanging out with influenced him to do these drugs. And so
mhm.
now, if I keep him in this neighborhood, every time I step outside and see another 10 or 13-year-old boy, I wonder if my son ever sold him drugs or
Mm-hmm.
gave
Yes,
them that matter, right?
yes,
Because it's
yes,
so cheap
yes.
to come by. And
Mhm.
so I went off. The room was silent.
Yeah, like what the advice she gave you, or the comment she made was definitely not one that showed the character of who you are as a parent. But I know, Michelle, yeah, man, you spoke so much and passionately too about your circumstances and your experiences. And as you said, you're not the only parent going through this. What advice would you give to a parent that's considering adoption or is currently in the process? What advice would you give to them?
I say, um, not every situation is going to be bad, but definitely make sure even before anything starts happening, because there's always the honeymoon phase in every relationship, right? Every relationship, there's the honeymoon phase, and then comes that phase, that testing phase, that trial phase, that either it stands the test of time or it breaks. A lot of time it breaks because we don't have the support we need, and we don't have the answers, and we don't go seeking them because we're afraid that people are going to judge us. Seek answers, do the research, buy books, go to therapy even when things are going good. And that's the thing. There's a stigma on therapy, thinking it's all for mental health, but there's something called, I think it's positive therapy. I don't remember the term, but this guy says, go to therapy before it gets bad. That way, when it starts getting bad, you know exactly what to look for. You see the signs, and you know what to do.
Absolutely.
You have the tools. Right? You have the tools to support you or to move forward through the process.
Yes. Yeah. So he may not call it therapy. Therapy might not be the right word. It might be life coach or something. But the therapist, the therapist that are experienced has the answers. So you do the what ifs. What if my son decides he wants to be with, especially if you're adopting, right?
Yes.
Learn what's going to be different. What can happen? So many things can go wrong. So many things can change. They can deviate from what you're teaching them in that moment, from what you know. Because if genetically their parents were on drugs, they are predisposed.
Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm thinking that it doesn't even necessarily have to do with adopted kids, because you see sometimes how defiant your own kids can be. You're teaching them everything that you know to be true and trying to instill certain values, and they make a decision to do differently.
So, I mean,
understanding that genetically sometimes that the kids can be predisposed to that, and especially in spaces where you're looking at you're not the bio parent, but it can happen to anybody and anybody.
And just so that social media influences our kids more than we do, right? All they want is to be on that Instagram to talk to their friend or friend that's popular, or whatever, and they want to please those people more than they want to please us, because of course we don't know what we're talking about. We were born in the olden age, and they just don't know how to communicate with us, right, and how to even respond to what we're teaching them. Because if they do respond, they're going to look stupid at school or on social media or whatever. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that? How come you're not at a party? Well, and stuff like that. Because
the peer pressure.
I read my son's Instagram when he wanted to pull away from what he was getting himself into, because he's good. He's a good child. When he wanted to pull away, and when his friends were calling him after he came back home here, and he told his friends, no, I'm not coming because I'm going to do this. He's like, they call him a punk. They call him a liar.
And you see, that's what the peer pressure does, right? To influence them. But, and I always say, you make the kids them, you can't make them mind, right? And even if you're an adopted parent, you instill certain things in them, but sometimes the influences that comes from outside as well, too. Michelle, I think we could talk to you all day about this topic, and I think this is something that we'd have to come back to have you come back on again, just to give us an update as to how our tool, as to how he's doing, and also for your own mental well-being as well too, Michelle, because as you mentioned, rightfully so, this has taken a lot out of you physically, mentally, emotionally, in every aspect of the way. But I applaud your strength and your courage, and for pushing through this situation, even though it's so hard.
Yeah.
Right? So we definitely want the listeners to let us know what their thoughts are on today's episode. And if they have any questions for you, and what are some questions about the adoption process or follow-ups for your family, and to drop us a comment to let us know what are your thoughts on Michelle's powerful story tonight. Tam,
Yes,
anything you want to add?
Yes, so as usual, fam, you find us on Spotify, you find us on Spreaker. We are also on Facebook. Our page is Real Talk with Shan and Tam, and on YouTube, Shan and Tam. All the episodes are there. And definitely we do have to have Michelle back to give us an update and to talk a little bit more about, what that process of healing and going through the difficulties can look like for individuals. So thank you again, Michelle. We love you. We adore you. We support you.
Thank you.
We are cheering for you and your family to pull through this. No one wants to see their child lost. And so our prayers are definitely with you always. Thank you for taking the time. And we are definitely going to talk to you again real soon. So until next time, fam, you all take care and walk good.
Okay.
Don't forget to visit Shan and Tam on all their social media websites. At Sisters Shan and Tam on Instagram, Shan Tam Lodge-V on Facebook, and check out their blogs at shanandtam.blogspot.com. Tune in again next time on Real Talk.